Talk about young shakes. Chicago 2 represent. Just change. And this for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gon' first round for my city. Dog, I ain't never.
Hello, this is Lacy L Jr. of Rice Fame Group, welcoming you to Chat with HBCU Champions, Season 2, Episode 9, featuring head coach Kim Kearney from North Carolina A&T Bowling, whose bowling team won the MEAC championship this year. In fact, it was about a month ago. So congratulations, Coach, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Please tell us about yourself, including about your coaching experience.
So this is my 7th season here at A&T. Prior to this, I was my other collegiate experience was at Del State. I was there for 2 seasons. I have been a part of the Team USA coaching staff for about 20 plus years. So I've been at it for a little while.
Okay, all right. So is this your first MEAC championship?
And actually, no, this is our 3rd consecutive here at A&T, and I have one when I was at Del State. It might be my 4th one here, but 3rd consecutive for sure.
Okay.
I should apologize.
So you've been the dominant force in the conference, pretty much.
We have had success definitely in the last part of this run here. Yes.
Okay. All right. And so I would be remiss if I didn't ask this, because it seems like a three-peat. Did you have to take time off during the COVID lockdown?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we locked down. I think we were on our way to MEACs actually that year. So that was the one year that we didn't have a championship. And yeah, that whole summer, that whole fall semester, we didn't compete. We were back at school, and we were able to practice, in limited amounts. But typically our season is October until we just finished, the end of April. So it's a long season. But yeah, we're winded down here as classes end and everybody's trying to catch their breath, and graduation is around the corner.
Okay. Were you a bowler yourself?
Did you lose me? There we go. Hi, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Not sure what happened there. Got you though.
Oh, we're good. So my question was, were you a bowler yourself?
Yes, yeah. I bowled collegiately. I grew up in California, so I grew up and bowled collegiately really with my sister at San Jose State. So I bowled 4 years there, and then I made the first what we call Team USA. It happened to be an Olympic sport in Korea that year, so it was an exhibition event. Sadly, I didn't compete well enough in that competition that we had amongst the team to be the one player, but luckily was able to go to South Korea. And then I bowled on tour for about 15 years. I bowled professionally, and I have 10 titles, a couple majors. Last summer I was inducted into the PWBA Hall of Fame. So definitely a long career. I've been in the sport for a while.
Well, congratulations on your Hall of Fame induction.
Thank you.
Okay, and as far as that Olympic experience, hey, as Dwight Stone said, when it comes to winning and losing, you're one of the best in the world, and you were one of the best in the world then, especially when you consider all the bowlers in the world, and you were able to make it. So that's, you hold your head up high, just for making it there, because most people will not ever have that experience.
Right. You're certainly proud of, there was still lots to learn, and it was influential, I think, certainly in me moving forward in my bowling career. So even though it felt like a big disappointment then, I don't think I'm able to be the coach or the player that I was without it.
Okay. All right. Well, please tell us about your team. Who were your key athletes and what were some of their accomplishments?
So this is the most depth that I've ever had, which made it, although it feels like it's, a benefit, it's difficult to try and figure out the right chemistry, the right five to have on the floor at the right time. And so, I think that was sort of our challenge this year. But Lauren is our anchor player. Her last name's Tomaszewski, and she was All-American last year, first team All-American. Didn't really have the season that she would have liked, I would say, this year, but she was as, I think, clutch a player as I've really ever seen. She was huge for us going down the stretch. The first part of the year, we were ranked second in the country, and so she was, like I said earlier, just significant in that. We have Chloe Newberry, who's a sophomore this year, and Chloe was a walk-on last year for us. I don't like to take it. I shouldn't take credit for finding her. She was kind enough to want to be a part of what we were doing, and she's this incredible talent that I think was kind of missed a little bit. She's from here in North Carolina, and Melanie is from San Jose. She's from back home. Kind of had enough people back there looking out for us and directed her here as well. And she's an All-American as well. This will be her third year being an All-American. She's been second team the last two, and then honorable mention this year. So we are just, we just have a lot of kids that love to play, that love to bowl, and want to get better. And so I'm pretty lucky. It makes my job easy.
Okay, it definitely seems like it. It seems like you were very much loaded. So, congratulations as well on your recruiting and forming that team. Um, Tell us a bit about your conference and the competition that you faced this year.
So with the MEAC, we're grateful that they kept us on as an affiliate member. The rest of our athletic department has gone to the Colonial, so we were hoping to stay in the MEAC. And the last few years they've allowed us to do that. The conference continues to get stronger each year. For a while, Delaware State, UMES were kind of the main, I guess, competitors that were making it into the NCAA championships. And this year in the past couple, there's just been a number of schools that have just put great teams together. Morgan State is up and coming, and they have a lot of really good talent there. And so as we kind of we're heading into postseason, it was definitely not an automatic that we were going to win that. And so we're grateful that, our kids could experience being on television and walking away with that championship. We have bowling is unique in that we have just 2 conference matches prior to our conference championship. But prior to that, the season is just sort of filled with tournament after tournament around the country. So we go from New Jersey to Texas, and each week from Tulane to Vanderbilt's tournament, just competing against the best teams in the country. And, you're hoping that you're in that automatic bid position as the NCAA tournament runs around. And so I think we were in good shape, but, always winning the MEAC is, you like to have that security.
Okay. So, you mentioned the postseason, which was going to be my next question. So, has and maybe I misunderstood, has the nationals started yet, or have you already played nationals?
So everything is concluded now. The first part of, I have my dates right. We made it to the first round of the NCAA championships. They take, I guess there were 17 teams that they brought. There was one play-in match, and 4 different regions around the country. They take the winner from each region bring them to the national championship, which was held in Vegas. It aired on ESPN. Vanderbilt ended up winning that against Arkansas State. Arkansas State is the team that we lost to in our region. So, I guess that there's some, if you're going to feel good about it, I guess we lost to, this is now the second year in a row, we've lost to the team that ultimately made it to the championship round. But yeah, a lot of good, there's a lot of parity, which is great. I think, there used to be just teams that ran away with it all the time, Nebraska and Vandy. And, we're seeing so much more balance, I think, throughout the sport at the collegiate level for us.
Okay. And so now for those of us who are like neophytes or, who are uneducated when it comes to collegiate bowling,
Mm-hmm.
how are and I assume that they're called matches.
Yes.
Okay, so how are the matches played? It seems like they're team against team versus just a bunch of teams that are bowling and to get the lowest or the highest score.
Yeah, so hopefully it's not confusing. So we have 3 different formats that we compete in a tournament. So each weekend we'll travel, we compete Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We bowl like a traditional match, which is what you'd be familiar with. All 5 players, total pins at the end. We do that on Saturday. We'll have 5 of those matches against, obviously 5 different teams. The other 2 days we're competing in what's called Baker format. So meaning it's one line score for the team. So our leadoff player will bowl the first frame and the 6th frame. Our second player will bowl the 2nd and the 7th, 3rd and the 8th, and so on until all 10 frames are filled. And we'll bowl a format that is 5 of those games against one team, and then the total pins wins, whoever has the most total pins. And then on Sunday, we bowl in a bracket, and it's going to be the best 4 out of 7 Bakers as well. So that's usually what you would see if you're watching team bowling on television is Baker format. So throughout the weekend, we just, you're amassing a number of wins and losses. You get to see a variety of teams. It's not just one team against, we wouldn't just go to Tulane and play Tulane. There'd be 16 other teams there, and we'd see from, Grambling to Vanderbilt to Nebraska, or whomever actually chooses to attend which tournament. Does that make some sense?
Yes, yeah. It kind of, and I hate to say it this way, it kind of sound brutal because that's a lot in one weekend.
It's a lot of bowling. Yeah. It's, our weeks run, like we practice Tuesday, Wednesday, we travel on Thursday, get there and go to a practice session. We compete Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get back Sunday night, take Monday off, and then Tuesday, Wednesday again. So it can be pretty grueling, pretty brutal. I think the kids they're just used to it. It feels like a lot of games. It's a long time in the bowling center, but I think they're used to putting that many games in.
Okay. Well, I just I just gained a lot more respect for bowlers now, especially on the collegiate end. Being a former coach myself for another sport, like I said, that's a lot as far as competition, and so my hats are off to you bowlers. And I, so what kind of physical activities do you have to do in order to stay in shape? Is there weightlifting involved, or
Yeah, so it's one of the great things about being at A&T, which I appreciate, is that our athletic department views us like any other sport in our department. So we work out with trainers. So our kids work out 2 days a week. So on Tuesday, Wednesday morning, they're up working out at 6 a.m. And then we practice in the afternoons. We go to training table with football. It's they give us, and I think my kids appreciate that. I certainly do. It's a big reason, again, why I'm here, is because there is a respect that we don't always see as a sport. And I certainly have bowled all my life. I understand how most people don't always view it in the same breath as some of the others. But our kids work hard, they're athletes, and we try to continue to promote that.
Okay. Well, what honors did you receive this year?
I was MEAC Coach of the Year because we won the regular season, and then I guess the outstanding coach because we won the MEAC championships were my two coaching accolades this year.
Okay. Okay. And as a player, you were inducted into the Hall of Fame over the summer.
Yes, which we're certainly proud of. I'm the first African American woman to be inducted into the Hall of Fame for that. So I am certainly honored. Um, you know, yeah, I don't know what else you say beyond that. So
Okay. So just on that, and this is a bit off from the subject. Just off from that, have you been interviewed a lot by different publications or by the media for that accomplishment?
um, I would say probably no, probably not. I think within the bowling industry, it's it was certainly celebrated. Outside of that, and they did a great job here at A&T, but I'd probably say outside of that, probably no.
Okay, that's a shame because that is a huge accomplishment. Um, I, wow, the first. So that's another honor that uh, you can claim for the rest of your life. Nobody can ever take that away from you.
Very.
So wow, okay, all right. Um, well, getting back on track, what do you look for in prospects, and can you tell us about any of your current signees?
So our incoming freshman, we have a great young lady coming from Dallas. Savannah is. We're really excited that she wants to be a part of what we're up to here. She has been bowling just kind of around the country at all the big youth tournaments. She's got great coaching there. We ran into her probably. We've been kind of looking at her and certainly actively recruiting her as for the last couple years. So that was uh, a big win for us when she decided to come and visit and sign with us. So I have 9 of my 10 players coming back, and so we try to stay around that number. There may be a transfer in our future, but right now that's kind of the group that we're looking at, and we're happy to have them back. Um, as far as what I look for, Eric and I, who's my assistant coach, also my husband, we look very much for. I touched on it briefly earlier. Is that we just want kids that love to bowl. Like you have to love the game. You have to want to be in there throwing shots, because otherwise, what we ask is going to feel like too much. It's going to feel like a burden. You're not going to want to do it. And right now, we're pulling our kids off the lane at the end of practice because they just love the idea of getting better and representing A&T in such a way that we can be in a position to win a national championship. So that number one is big for us, because we don't want to have to beg anybody to want to get out there and do this. Um, Certainly, we team is a big thing for us as well. We want the experience to be, the 4 years that you spend here, for it to feel like family, that you're doing it for and with each other. And so um, we spend a lot of time cultivating that. We have a sports psychologist that I bring in that I worked with when I was on tour. He comes all the way from Reno, and Dean spends a couple days with the girls at the beginning of the season, and it's this effort to get to know each other, to understand each other, so that maybe you don't particularly dig her personality, but you at least have an understanding why people do as they do. And so you can be a lot more forgiving when you understand where they come from, and maybe the things that maybe have had an impact in their lives. And so that's a big part of what we do. We we look for obviously great students. We want you to be a good human being. All the things that matter when you're trying to do this, when you're trying to put it together. But it's a challenge. You think you are kind of singling out the right ones. And, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but hopefully we can guide them into the right, down the right road so we can kind of accomplish the things that we want to accomplish.
Okay. All right. Well, you actually brought something up that I usually ask later, so I'm just gonna go ahead and ask it now. Um, I know you said that you have a psychiatrist who comes in. How do you, as a coach, deal with the mental health aspect, which really I would call a phenomenon now among all, um, well, not even just collegiate sports, because we've had Olympians who've brought it to light, and several pros and others. How do you deal with the mental aspect when it comes to your athletes?
Yeah, it's, when I did it before, there was a kind of an 8-year, 10-year gap between doing it at Dell State and coming here. Very different landscape. I am very much involved and in tune with what's happening with these kids, because it's scary. It's scary. You want to make sure that you allow them to maintain some perspective and the fact that it is a game. And as much as we care about winning, and the university cares, and my bosses care, and I know that they care, um, we try to create an environment where they feel safe no matter what. Like we know you're going to make mistakes on the lanes, off the lanes sometimes, but we want to make sure that they feel like whatever happens, that they're safe and they're loved. And um, that takes a lot of effort, to be perfectly honest, to just kind of to check in constantly, like, where are you? We have um, here, they've made a lot of strides, and we have someone specifically in our counseling services that works with our student athletes. And so, sadly, there's a lot of kids looking for advice and someone counseling, some sort of counseling. And so, the fact that we have someone set aside specifically for our kids, it makes it, and we've tried to make it so it feels comfortable. It feels, it's nothing to be ashamed of to ask for help, to have somebody help you figure out and navigate all of the changes that you're going through when you step onto this campus and trying to be a student athlete, and then just sort of living in this world that can sometimes be pretty chaotic. And so, yeah, we watch closely, to be very honest. We are watching very closely and checking in regularly, just to, how are things? What do we just want to make sure that being a part of this doesn't add to, all of sometimes the worries these kids have to kind of live through.
Right. Okay. Well, please tell us more about the institution. You kind of brought that up as well, just briefly. But tell us more about the institution. What are the major programs there at A&T, and what majors do your athletes tend to take?
So I always tell, my husband went to A&T. So Eric, he's gone here. My stepson just graduated in December. His grandparents went here. So this is a legacy. This is something that when this position opened up, we jumped at. We were living in Dallas at the time and relocated for. It is, Eric always says it's a serious place. It's a serious institution. He's very proud, as any Aggie that you may have met. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. So, but we are a very strong engineering school, very much. And so, I have engineers. I have a computer engineer. One of my kids is majoring in that. I have an ag major. Lauren is an agriculture major and hopes to be a veterinarian. We have a little bit of everything from criminal justice to psychology, um, certainly business majors. And so we are, it's a great place to attend, to do your graduate work. I have a player that came from Dell State that came here as a graduate student, and she's getting her MBA here. So we love it here. I wasn't here for my interview 2 hours before I was texting Eric and saying that Like, I don't know how I turn this down, because it's it's a difficult place to fail. There are so many people here that are invested in you succeeding in the classroom, and so that is something that we take very seriously, and we're very proud of. It is a place where people look out for you, where they're not going to let you fail, from our academic counselors that are specifically there for our student athletes, to all of the professors that are so supportive of our students, of our student athletes, of our program. And so I can't see being anywhere else, because it is a community, whether we're at the bowling center or at Target, that if you have on anything Aggie, they're like, my husband and I just came back from Antigua, and we were in New York on the way there because we were headed to a wedding, and we ran into 3 different Aggies during this trip. Like, we see the bowling team is doing great. Like, it's just, it's something, it's hard to understand, but it is an amazing place to be, and I couldn't be happier.
Okay. Well, actually, that segue right into my next question. Uh, what kind of support do you receive for your program from the department, the institutions, and Aggieland?
So with bowling, we are what's called a counter sport. So the NCAA allows us to have 5 scholarships. And so we are fully funded, which makes my life very easy in the world of bowling. Our athletic department fully funds all 5 scholarships out of state. So, I'm able to kind of go after whomever I want, in terms of getting, some of the best athletes that we can here into this program. I'm trying to remember all of your question. Uh, there's not much that we need, to be perfectly honest, through the support of alumni, and other folks in the athletic department, that we do well, which I'm grateful for. We have some sponsorships in terms of ball contracts, and so that helps us in terms of equipment. Some of the relationships that I kind of have in the bowling industry have been beneficial. So I think we are one of the most funded bowling programs, I'd say, in the country, HBCU or not. So that part, again, makes my job much easier, right? I don't have to go out there hustling and trying to figure out, who's going to give us this and who's going to give us that. It's just, they respect what we do. They're proud of what we've done here, and it makes it easy. My kids, they understand that, as much as they sometimes still look for more and more, and I don't blame them for that, but I'm like, you're on the billboard next to the Olympian track and field. Like, you need to be like, that doesn't always happen in life, right? Especially as a bowler. And so, as much as, I think that's just because they have been treated with such equity here. And, I love that about our athletic director, about our Chancellor Martin. Just, they know what's going on. You walk around campus and our kids are known, and that's not always the case in our sport.
Right. Okay. So, and with that being said, you mentioned the word equity, and so for those who do not know, um, and I might be mistaken, but I think another bowling coach, HBCU bowling coach, told me this. Bowling is primarily a women's sport on the NCAA side.
Yes, it is only an NCAA women's sport. NCAA doesn't offer male on the male side. So, yeah, certainly brought about because of Title IX. I was on that committee and trying to sell it to athletic directors before I even found this position, that it was an easy fit, relatively inexpensive. It doesn't always solve the numbers because we don't have the biggest rosters, let's say, but it's done great. It's continued to grow. We have well over 100 and something programs around the country, from Division I to Division III, and so that, we're proud of that. We hope it continues to grow. HBCUs were the first 3 conferences to adopt it as conference, so they were instrumental in getting it off the ground, and we continue to kind of hope that can, we can keep these programs alive. And but I love it. I love the game. I love all that collegiate bowling brought for me. I was a very average bowler heading into college. I got better there. It's when I fell in love with the sport. I can't say, I played sports growing up. Bowling wasn't my love. My dad bowled, my sisters, he got us all bowling, but it wasn't the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to run track. And, when it became evident that I was not going to play at a collegiate level, I was like, I'll bowl. But I still I got better there. I learned the game, and it's just brought the entire world at my footsteps. And so I think that if I could do that, that's been always kind of my goal. The only way I felt like I would continue to stay involved after I was bowling on tour was if I could help kids kind of, one, therefore get a college education, and two, kind of experience some of the things that I was able to experience. This was what I was sort of meant to do.
Okay, well, most definitely with the success that you've achieved, definitely, definitely part of your purpose here. So, yeah, it's always great to hear about sports and the evolution. Especially, I did not know that HBCUs conferences were among the first to form. And before last year, I had no idea that on the NCAA side it was a women's only sport, because I was an administrator in the NAIA, and in NAIA it's co-ed.
Yes. Men
And
and exactly, yes, yeah. And that's kind of what I grew up with too. And so I don't think we'll ever be fortunate enough to have the NCAA sponsor men's bowling, but they exist and they excel, and it's they have a collegiate championships, and all of that works. It's just, and there's scholarship money available. It's just not at the NCAA level.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Coach, who are the biggest influences in your career?
That's such a great question. I think as a player, certainly, I mean, my dad started myself and my sisters when we were kids, and I grew up in a time where bowling was, it was a family thing. It was common. It was everywhere. So certainly my parents were huge in supporting me and guiding me. And even when I was like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to bowl anymore, I don't want to bowl professionally, I don't want to, they just continued to stay in my corner. So my family has been huge. I think coming up, when I then decided that maybe it was something I wanted to try, there certainly weren't many African Americans out there on tour. And Cheryl Daniels, who's really not much older than me, and she's actually being inducted in the PWBA, Professional Women's Bowling Association Hall of Fame, this summer. Cheryl went out right out of high school, and so she won titles, and she's won the U.S. Open, and she was having someone that looked like you doing it, certainly makes a difference. And I recognize that I've had that opportunity for others as well. So I would probably go there. When I think about coaching mentors, kind of how I got and found myself here, my coach when I was on tour, then got the position as head coach for our Junior Team USA program, and Rod kind of brought me on without any coaching experience, really, and has mentored me and molded me into, I think, one of the better coaches, I think, that, I guess that's around. So I have Rod to thank. I have my parents to thank. I have Cheryl to thank. I have Dr. Dean, who is the sports psychologist that I talked about. He literally turned my career around. All of my majors came after kind of working with him. So I've always been a big believer in sports psychology, but there was a time where I didn't, I'm not sure I loved what I was doing, and he allowed me to love the game again, and the idea of competing and it not feel so heavy that I was trying to do something for everybody else. And so, I've had a lot of people that have believed in me. My husband certainly should not be left off this list. But always I would point back to family more than anything.
Okay. Okay. And we know that your husband is your assistant coach. Was he a bowler collegiately or in professionally?
Yeah, so Eric, I think he got his regional card, so just for a short amount of time as a professional, but he bowled here on the team at A&T. Also played football here. Uh, yeah, that's how we met. He ran a pro shop in DC. We were both on the same ball staff with a ball company. We met at a convention, and here we are in Greensboro. But yeah, he's got the like what you look for in your assistant coach is the things that you don't do well. Eric's strength is certainly in ball drilling and kind of that side of the thing. And we're different. We're different, and that's great in terms of you have lots of different personalities that you have to reach, and so he's got this big aggressive personality, and typically I'm a little bit more on the calmer the calmer side of it, and so I think we cover all ends of the spectrum.
Okay. That sounds great. It's always great to have complementary coaches on your staff that makes your life and your work a whole lot easier. And I can attest to that. Well, coaches, we get ready to wind down. This is the time I like to give the coaches a chance to shout out anyone who they want.
Oh, well, let me not forget our incredible pro shop and bowling center where we practice. Eventually, very soon, we're going to have lanes on campus, which will make um, practice easier, I will say. Certainly having the availability to get on the lanes when we want to, and all of that makes it easier. But in the meanwhile, our bowling center where we practice, which is Triad Lanes, and their general manager Rob Klein, our pro shop operator Jared Wright is fantastic. He's a former Aggie, and he and his staff will absolutely do anything for us. And so I am so grateful to them, drilling balls for us on days off and in the late hours. And so they have made a huge difference and been very important in our success. Storm Bowling Products, which is a bowling manufacturer that sponsors our team. Vice Inserts, they sponsor our team. Just all of the folks that kind of make it easy for us to do what we need to do. An athletic director that believes in our program, in Earl Hilton. I'm really very, very fortunate, and I just have an amazing group of kids and parents who support what we're doing and trust their kids to trust Eric and I to have their children, and believe that we can guide them and mentor them in a way that they leave here better players, and hopefully better people. And that's really that's the only thing that we feel like the only promise that we can make is that they will leave better and they will leave smarter. And we can't promise rings. We can't promise anything other than that. I will do my best to prepare them for wherever they want to go. If it's professionally, if winning an NCAA championship is where they see their athletic career ending, then that's the thing that I want to try and do for them. But beyond that, it's just been an incredible ride, and we're going to do it for as long as they want us.
Okay, well, if they're building lanes on campus, it sounds like they want you for a long term. And because I graduated from an HBCU, from Kentucky State University, we had lanes on campus. We had, I think, I can't even tell you how many lanes we had because the bowling alley was shut down all the time.
Right.
So it never worked.
Right.
I think I peeked in the room and saw maybe 5 lanes.
Uh-huh.
But another institution here in Kentucky, Western Kentucky University, mm-hmm. had a full-fledged bowling alley on campus.
Right.
And so I mean, and as a high schooler, and just as a person visiting campus, that was always one of the stops. not necessarily to bowl because I'm not that good. I'll try, but I'm still not that good. But just to stop up there and just watch everyone, watch all the students, who enjoy bowling and things like that. So, you getting your own alley, I know that will be a terrific help. And now, once they build that, will it be open to the students on campus?
Yeah. So our hope is, and it's in the first phase of this new building. So, but that there will be lanes set aside specifically for our training. Otherwise, however they do it, it'll certainly make it easy. And there, the idea that it will provide another form of activity for the students that attend the university. So I think it's kind of jointly, it's going to help both of us. But, and it helps in my recruiting, as I kind of compete for the best kids in the country, everyone else has training facility, so that's going to help us. It's the one thing that we fall a little bit behind on, and we, so that is, we're excited about that and that possibility. Once it's complete, it'll, there'll be no reason for anybody to choose anywhere other than A&T.
Okay. All right. Well, Coach, this has been a terrific interview. And so I definitely want to thank you for stopping in and chatting with us. And I do hope that you and your program continue to succeed, and we will definitely follow your developments. But I also want to thank you, the viewers, for watching this episode of Chat with HBCU Champions. Please visit ricefamegroup.org for more information on replays and HBCUs in general. And please have a blessed week.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And
yeah. Now I'm talking about young shakes. Chicago 2 representatives. Jesse James. And this is for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gon' first round. For my city. Dog, I ain't never been a chump. And if he thinking I'm a chump, watch him get his head lump. For my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gon' first round. For my city. Dog, I ain't never been a chump. And if he thinking I'm a chump, watch him get his head lump. For my city. Cause I feel like I love her so much, like I owe her so much for supplying her touch. I will always respect her, I will never neglect her. Bet you hear her naming like every one of my records. No, I'm not stunting, ain't no future in your frontin', right? Gotta get this money, watch me get it all night. Planet flying top flight, higher than space stations. That's why I gotta grind, cause I need it and I hate waiting.